You can walk into a dollar store or discount grocery chain right now and, for a few seconds, it still feels familiar. Bright yellow signs, big sale tags, end caps promising value, shelves busy enough to suggest control, and then you start shopping. A bottle of dish soap goes in the cart, a box of cereal, trash bags, toothpaste, maybe paper towels, a frozen meal, a few snacks, coffee, aluminum foil. Nothing extravagant, nothing reckless. The kind of trip that used to feel routine. Then you reach the register, and somehow the total is $40, $50, sometimes $60, and the cart barely looks touched. That strange feeling is now common across America, especially for people over 50 who remember when discount stores actually felt cheap. Back then, low-cost stores were not just visually affordable, they were functionally affordable. A paycheck stretched further, a cart looked fuller. The math was simpler. Now the signs still say low price. The packaging still looks familiar. But the products are smaller, the value is thinner, and the receipt climbs faster than the cart fills. And that matters, because it creates self-doubt. It makes ordinary people wonder if they suddenly forgot how to shop. But this is not about a lack of discipline. It is not about shoppers becoming careless. The environment changed. The pricing changed. The packaging changed. The quality changed. And much of it changed in ways that are easy to miss in the moment. What feels off is real. And once you see the pattern, the experience starts making sense again. Because this is not random. America's cheap store system still looks affordable from the outside. But underneath, the logic has shifted. The first reason is simple. The store still looks cheap. Modern discount retail is built around visual reassurance. Large signs. Repeated deal language. Round numbers. Bright colors. Short prices that feel emotionally harmless. $1.25? $2.99? $3.50? Individually, none of those numbers feel dangerous. That is exactly why they work. Most shoppers react first to sticker price, not unit price. We see the small number, feel a moment of relief, and move on. A tiny bottle of detergent for $3 feels more manageable than a larger bottle for $9, even if the larger one gives you 2 or 3 times the number of loads. A small cereal box looks cheaper because the price is lower, even if the cost per ounce is worse. A mini roll of foil, a small toothpaste tube, a short stack of paper towels, a tiny dish soap bottle. Each one feels like a controlled purchase. But a cart built from small numbers can become an expensive cart very quickly. That is one of the biggest illusions inside discount shopping today. The shopper can feel disciplined the entire time and still walk out having protected less value than expected. Not because they made foolish choices, but because the store is structured to keep the transaction feeling small while the total grows. It is the psychology of low-entry pricing. If everything looks like a minor purchase, your guard stays lower. 20 separate low-priced items do not feel the same as one larger purchase, even when the final total is worse. And because the packages are smaller, the cart often looks fuller than the actual amount of product would suggest. That visual effect matters. A few mini snack packs can make a basket seem active. Several compact household items can create the impression of progress. But when those products run out faster, the real cost shows up later, not at the shelf. So the shopper leaves with 2 problems at once: a higher total than expected and less staying power once the items get home. That is why so many people now have the same reaction after a routine trip. I bought a lot of things. Why does it feel like I bought almost nothing? Because in many stores, what looks affordable and what actually delivers value are no longer the same thing. And once you start noticing that split, another pattern becomes impossible to ignore. The package often looks the same, but the product inside is quietly shrinking. Shrinkflation has become one of the defining features of modern shopping, and it works precisely because it hides inside familiar shapes. A bottle looks almost the same in your hand. The label looks the same on the shelf. The brand colors do their job. But the ounces are lower, the count is lower, the roll is shorter, the tray is lighter. The container has been redesigned just enough to preserve recognition while reducing what you actually get. Older shoppers tend to notice this almost immediately because they remember the older baseline. They remember when ice cream commonly came in a true half-gallon container. Now many containers are smaller, but the shape still signals abundance. They remember larger toilet paper rolls, longer foil rolls, fuller frozen meals, and family-sized packages that actually felt sized for a family. Dish soap bottles have quietly narrowed. Laundry detergent has often become smaller and sometimes more diluted. Snack bags can feel half-air. Frozen dinners that once looked adequate now seem lighter and less satisfying. Even paper products can change in ways that are easy to miss until you use them and realize they are not lasting as long. And companies know why this works. Most people notice a direct price increase faster than a size reduction. If a product jumps from $4 to $5, the increase feels obvious. But if the price holds near $4 while the contents quietly fall from 16 ounces to 14, the pain is delayed. The shelf still feels stable. The value is what moved. That delay is powerful. It keeps the illusion of affordability alive a little longer. But it also creates a new kind of exhaustion. Shopping now requires constant mental math. You are not just choosing what you need. You are checking weight, ounces, count, length, and whether the package is the same one you bought 6 months ago or only looks like it. That is real cognitive work, and it explains why so many ordinary shopping trips now feel strangely tiring. You are not simply buying groceries or household supplies anymore. You are decoding them. And the deeper frustration is this. Even after doing all that work, the smaller package often leads you into the next trap. The cheaper-looking option can actually cost more. This is where unit pricing becomes one of the most important consumer protection tools in the entire store. Because many discount products are cheap only at the surface level. Per ounce, per sheet, per load, or per use, they can be more expensive than larger versions sold at a regular grocery store, Walmart, or a warehouse club. A small detergent bottle for $3 may look easier to absorb than a larger bottle for $9. But if the larger bottle washes 3 times as many loads, then the lower sticker price was not the lower cost. A tiny toothpaste tube at a discount store may seem harmless until you compare the ounce price to a standard size somewhere else. Single canned goods can cost more per ounce than a multi-pack. Mini coffee containers often carry a steeper cost per cup. Small paper towel packs and cheap razor packs can do the same thing. This is one of the harshest realities in today's retail system. The cheaper option often became the more expensive one. And that is not a personal failure, it is a structural trap. Many households do not have the flexibility to spend more upfront, even when it would lower the cost over time. If your grocery money has to stretch across the week, the smaller package may be the only package available to you in that moment. If you cannot put $9 into detergent today, then the $3 bottle wins, even if it loses over the month. That is why this pattern is often described as a hidden poverty tax. The people under the most pressure are frequently the ones forced into the highest per-use costs. And once you see that, a lot of modern shopping behavior starts to make sense. People are not irrational. They are navigating cash flow, not just value. So the control shift here is not perfection. It is awareness. When unit price is visible, it tells you which products are actually draining more money over time. It helps you recognize when a low sticker price is just a smaller doorway into a more expensive pattern. And when the larger size is not possible, at least the trade-off becomes visible instead of confusing. That clarity matters because there is another layer to this problem. Products are not only getting smaller, many are getting worse. This is sometimes called skimpflation, and for a lot of shoppers, it is the moment when frustration turns into distrust. Paper towels feel thinner and tear faster. Trash bags stretch less and split more easily. Dish soap seems to run out faster because it is weaker. Coffee tastes less rich. Frozen foods can contain more filler and less substance. Store brand formulas change. Meat quality becomes less consistent. Snack foods that used to feel dependable can seem stale, flatter, or less satisfying. And what makes this so draining is that consumers often sense it before they can prove it. Something just feels off. You use more soap than before. You need more paper towels to do the same job. The toilet paper roll seems gone almost immediately. The frozen meal looks the same on the box but feels smaller and less filling on the plate. That gap between sensing and proving is psychologically important. It makes people doubt themselves. Maybe I am imagining it. Maybe I am just more critical now. Maybe everything always ran out this fast. But often, the products genuinely changed. This is why quality decline can feel more unsettling than simple price inflation. If a price rises, at least the transaction is honest. You see the number. You respond to the number. But when the product weakens quietly, the consumer gets hit twice. You lose performance and then lose confidence in your own judgment. And once again, the system benefits from delay. If a trash bag tears in your kitchen instead of on the shelf, the problem is discovered after the sale. If the coffee tastes weaker at home, the disappointment is private. If the paper towel is thinner, you adapt without always tracing the change back to the store. The control shift is to trust the pattern. If something feels weaker, smaller, or less reliable across multiple trips, that observation matters. Consumers often detect quality changes long before companies acknowledge them. Noticing that pattern is not complaining. It is protecting your money from products that no longer perform the way they used to. So why is all of this happening at once? The answer is not one single villain. It is a pressure system. Over the last several years, companies have absorbed higher costs across transportation, fuel, labor, packaging, ingredients, commodities, warehousing, and global supply chains. Tariffs have affected some imported goods and materials. Packaging itself has become more expensive. Shipping disruptions have made consistency harder. Retailers also have their own margin pressures, and discount stores operate on especially thin margins to begin with. When all of those pressures rise together, companies have a few basic choices. They can raise prices openly. They can accept lower profits. Or they can protect margins by adjusting the product in quieter ways. And in many cases, that is what happened. Reduce the size a little. Lower the count. Use slightly cheaper ingredients. Thin the paper product. Dilute the detergent. Shrink the roll. Change the formula. Keep the package looking familiar. Keep the shelf price as stable as possible. Preserve the appearance of affordability even when the value underneath is changing. That does not require a conspiracy to understand. It is simply how businesses often respond when they believe customers will react more negatively to a visible price jump than to a hidden reduction in value. Discount stores feel this especially hard because their entire identity depends on the appearance of low price. If your brand is built around affordability, a sudden jump can break the illusion quickly. So, smaller packaging and lower quality become tools for maintaining that image. That is why so many shoppers feel like the store looks normal, while the experience feels wrong. The visual language of affordability stayed in place. The economics underneath did not. And if you have felt this shift more intensely than younger shoppers seem to, there is a reason for that too. People over 50 are often comparing today's store to a much longer memory. They remember when discount shopping carried a different emotional tone. It was not just about low prices on signs, it was about tangible relief. A cart felt full. The pantry lasted longer. Paper products lasted. Basic household items did not require constant calculation. One income, in many households, covered more of ordinary life than it does now. Today, shopping asks much more from the brain. Compare ounces. Check count. Watch totals in real time. Decide whether fresh food will last. Decide whether one store is enough or whether another stop is necessary. Notice if the package changed. Notice if the quality slipped. Notice if the sale is real or just styled to look real. That is cognitively exhausting, and it changes the emotional texture of the errand itself. What used to feel routine can now feel like a test. What used to feel practical can now feel tense. The shelves still look full, but the feeling of abundance is disappearing. That line captures a larger truth about this moment. In many stores, scarcity does not show up as empty aisles. It shows up as reduced confidence. You can still see products everywhere and still leave feeling that less was actually available to you in a meaningful sense. Here is a useful question to ask yourself at this point. When was the last time you finished a normal shopping trip and felt genuinely settled by it? Not just done, settled. If that feeling has become rare, you're probably not reacting to one bad store or one expensive week. You are reacting to a broader pattern. The same pressure keeps appearing in different forms: smaller sizes, weaker quality, confusing value, and rising totals hidden behind low-looking prices. And noticing that pattern says something important about you. It means you are paying attention. It means your instincts are working. It means you have not become bad at managing money. You are navigating a retail environment that became harder to read. That matters, because the pattern is no longer limited to households at the edge. The middle class is shopping differently now too. You can see it in quiet behavior changes all over the country. More people are leaning on store brands. More are buying fewer snacks and fewer extras. Meat gets reduced or skipped more often. Fresh items are chosen more carefully because waste feels more expensive. Shopping trips are spread out. Some households drive to multiple stores to compare prices or stretch categories. Others put groceries on credit cards just to manage timing. And one of the biggest shifts is that more middle-income households are now choosing shelf life over preference. They are buying what will last, not always what they want. That means more frozen items, more boxed items, fewer impulse foods, fewer specialty items, and less tolerance for anything that might spoil before it gets used. That behavior tells a story. This is no longer just about low-income consumers trying to stretch every dollar. Even households with decent incomes are now feeling pressure inside ordinary stores that used to feel manageable. And when more of the middle class starts behaving defensively in everyday shopping, it signals that the system itself has changed. Not collapsed. Changed. That distinction matters because it keeps the conversation grounded. This is not panic territory. Shelves are still stocked. Stores are still operating. People are still adapting. But they are adapting silently, often in ways that reveal less confidence than the storefront suggests. One household cuts back on snacks. Another reduces fresh produce because spoilage feels too costly. Another buys lower quality meat. Another stretches detergent longer. Another skips paper products until the next trip. Another rotates between stores, searching for one category at a time. On the surface, these look like small private choices. Together, they describe a public shift. And that leads to the deepest cost in this entire story. The real damage is psychological. When shopping gets harder but the store still looks normal, people often turn the frustration inward. They assume they are mismanaging something. They feel irresponsible. They feel behind. They feel embarrassed that groceries create stress. They wonder why they cannot leave with the same sense of control they used to have. But the environment changed faster than most households could adapt to it. That is the key point. You are not imagining it. Shopping really does feel harder now. It feels harder because sticker prices and real value moved apart. It feels harder because package size became less trustworthy. It feels harder because quality became less consistent. It feels harder because the cheapest-looking option is often the most expensive over time. It feels harder because every trip now asks for more attention than it used to. And when that happens repeatedly, shame can creep in where clarity should be. That is exactly why recognition matters. Because the moment you understand the pattern, the pressure starts to organize itself. You stop treating each disappointing purchase like a separate mystery. You start seeing the same hidden logic across the store. Low-looking price, smaller amount, lower quality, faster, replacement, higher total cost over time. Once you see that sequence, the store becomes easier to read. Not perfect, not easy, but easier. That is the real control shift in this story. Not extreme couponing, not panic buying, not turning every errand into a spreadsheet, just being able to spot the traps that were designed to feel harmless. A low sticker price that hides poor unit value. A familiar package that hides less product. A stable brand that hides weaker quality. A full shelf that hides reduced buying power. Those are not random annoyances. They are parts of the same system. And that system explains why America's cheap stores no longer feel cheap. even when they still look the part. The illusion held longer than the value did. From the outside, the model still works. The signs are bright. The packaging is recognizable. The shelves still communicate abundance. But underneath, sizes shrank, quality slipped, unit prices rose, and households adjusted quietly just to keep up. That is why so many people walk out of these stores feeling confused, irritated, or vaguely defeated without always knowing how to explain it. Now you can explain it, not as a personal failure but as a retail pattern. And that shift in understanding matters more than it sounds. Because when shoppers can recognize shrinkflation, unit price traps, skimpflation, and psychological pricing for what they are, they become harder to mislead. The store may still be designed to create the feeling of affordability, but awareness helps you separate feeling from function. That is where control returns. Not all at once, not perfectly, but enough to move through the store with clearer eyes and less self-blame. And maybe that is the most important change of all. The next time a cart fills slowly and the receipt climbs fast, the experience no longer has to feel mysterious. You can see the structure behind it. If you value this kind of calm consumer awareness, subscribe. This channel is here to help you read the patterns earlier, protect your money more effectively, and stay one step ahead of the quiet changes shaping everyday life.